do better, those kinds of things. But I have phrased these a slightly different way, and I'm going to ask us to do our small groups like Melissa had earlier. So some of you will be online, some of you will be in the room, and we're going to spend not a lot of time, 15, 20 minutes, talking through some of these things. And I'm going to share my screen again. Okay, everybody can see just the Word document I have up here on the screen, yes? I can make it bigger too, if you would like. Okay. So I'm going to say go here in just a minute, and you're going, for those of you that are still online, so Toby, Ophelia, Mark, I believe. I want you, so Toby and Mark, you're new, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So I will join you all and we'll talk a little differently. But for those of you in the room, you can do it all together. I don't really care how you break up. Start to talk through some of these things and try and think a little outside the box. Not just what do you like, what do you don't, but how do we make the curriculum better for your students? How do we make it more accessible? How do we make the process better? Of just running the whole program, getting information from strong families. How do we touch more students? What does that look like? How do we better track outcomes or better get outcomes measured? Okay, so we're gonna have those conversations. I'm gonna bring us back here in about, Jackie has things. She has a flip chart. So you guys in the room can write your stuff on fun flip charts. For those of you online, I will facilitate on this end. But we're going to spend about 15 minutes going through these, and then we'll come back together and kind of wrap it up on this end. So does everybody know what we're doing? Okay, so Jackie, if you guys would please mute your mic in the house. All right, so those of you online, so Mark and Ophelia and Toby, you're still here, yes?
Yeah.
Yes.
And I don't have anybody else online. So I know Ophelia is not afraid to share, so we'll let her talk a little bit if she has any ideas. But oh wait, Ophelia. No, she's out at the vet with her puppies. So we'll just talk with the two of you about what you see so far and any thoughts you have without really knowing the details of how this is going to play out. I realize you guys don't know that yet. But have you all had a chance to take a look at the full curriculum? I know you've started down that road and how you're going to implement it, but any initial thoughts you have on the curriculum, or I know Mark said he's going to have to change up some of the language to fit into the culture of his school, but what are your initial thoughts on how that's going to integrate and work?
Hey, Brittany.
Yeah.
I can talk. My husband is in there wrangling them at the moment. So I just came out to the lobby, but if you want some input, I can do so.
Okay, so let's give them a chance to think. Ophelia, what are your thoughts on making the curriculum better?
More interactive things for the kids to do. Like while we were watching those videos this afternoon, even just those short clips about like isolation, those would be really great to have in class because it gives them an example and it might jog some like experiences or questions they might have and then get them more engaged in the content. Because I feel like I was talking to Kelsey earlier on text about how I just feel like sometimes I just read word for word the worksheets or the handouts to them and have a little bit of a discussion, but it's pretty much me just lecturing, and that's not really how I like to run the class. I'd prefer to give them a rundown the first like 10 minutes, let them go out at a hands-on activity for 20, and then come back and have a group discussion. not a whole like let's listen to Mrs. Ratliff drone on and on and on, because like that makes my job boring and it sucks. Like I kind of dread the days where I know it's all lecture and there's nothing for the kids to do because they get bored. And I think some of the timing for some of those lessons is really unrealistic. Like there are lessons that say this should take 20 minutes and they take like the whole class period. Or you get so into it that you're talking and talking and talking and you don't get through what you're supposed to get through that day. And then it takes you a month to get through the curriculum instead of that like 2-week period it should. And I know I brought it up to Sheldon and Kelsey, but they did finally make a calendar for 45-minute classes because I was trying to chunk down like the 50 to 60-minute syllabus before, and it was really challenging to like get through everything, and it kind of made me feel overwhelmed and stressed as a teacher because there's so much we cover in that class already aside from just relationships.
Okay. Ophelia, how big are your classes?
Anywhere from like 16 to 25. This semester I have a class of 25 and then I have a class of 6, so they really vary.
Okay. And you're feeling like that regardless of the number of kids in your classroom?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Or you'll have one class at one pace and one at a totally different, and then you have to like find filler things to do because like nothing is worse than having one class ahead of the other because it like just doesn't work. And we're starting like these instructional cycles, at least at our school, where we kind of have to be like on the same page with each class we teach. So I don't know, just finding better ways to make the time management part go smoother, and interactive activities for sure would be awesome.
Okay, so Toby and Mark, have you looked at the curriculum?
Yeah, I did receive the 3-ring binder of the curriculum. And I guess in my world, how it differs from Ophelia's, even though we are technically the same school district, I am on an accelerated format. So I run an entire semester in a quarter. So basically starting January 4th, I had 47 instructional days to get a semester's worth of content in before March 11th. So my initial looking at the binder was, okay, there's no way I'm going to get through front to back all of this content in addition to, you know, what is required for, you know, the class as it's already set up, structured through the school district for content that you need to provide. So then I was going to be looking at, okay, I'm going to have to bullet point certain things, or I'm going to have to prioritize certain topics and eliminate entire sections.
Okay. Mark, do you have a similar format?
Yeah, similar. Except I'm on a block schedule, so I'll have 90-minute classes. And I've just kind of thumbed through the first couple units, and with the time limits and stuff that they have up there, I think it'll work out pretty good. But I'm going to be learning as we go along as well. Through this, I have meetings set up for Monday morning, just to make sure I'm doing everything right with the surveys and all that kind of stuff too. So, like
yeah,
I'll only have 12 kids in it. That's as big as our classes get at this school. That's a big class for me here. So, but I'm excited to have a new curriculum because I've been teaching the same one for a long time. So,
okay. All right. Anything else, Ophelia, that you want to make sure?
Do you want me to bring up that other?
Yeah. What was your other?
Earlier.
Yep.
I have to think because I screenshotted it on my computer and I don't have my computer with me.
Okay,
I think it was for the budgeting activity, if we were to have scenarios for kids like this is your job and this is what your partner does or whatever, or you work here and you have 2 roommates sort of thing, like how are you going to work out that budget? Because then it gives kids a realistic view of like life itself and like honestly, we're not all going to be anesthesiologists. It'd be nice to make 300K a year, but we're not going to. And oftentimes, like even with my kids in intro to early childhood, we did like a baby budgeting activity just for them to see like how much it costs to have a baby for a full year. And they were all like, oh, well, my husband's going to be a doctor and I'm going to work in the highest paying school district. And like it's fun to dream, but is that realistic? Like, how can we make a bigger impact and like show kids the different ways people in our world truly live? And like give them kind of a set like number to work with. And then they have to like use their skills to figure that out. I always think that would be beneficial, especially for the kids at my school. And I'm sure at Toby's school as well.
Yep.
Okay. I do think it was really interesting to talk to the kids because there was one or two schools that loved that activity. Like that was the number one activity I heard about. And then the others were like, I'm not getting married. Why would I do that activity? So we did do a series of interviews with both teachers and kids. If your kids are interested there, it's not a mandatory. So Ophelia's children
my
have
kids
chatted
did.
with me.
Oh yeah. You had a fun class too when you did it. You were a handful.
It's been interesting to talk to the different groups. So, all right. So making the process better. So for those of you that are just coming in, how are you feeling? Do you feel like there's things that would be better for you to better come on board, things that would better fit in your schedule? Thoughts on getting you up and running?
Well, I guess I initially thought only of this content for supplement to a child and family studies class. But when talking to Kelsey, she said, no, it can also be used for a health class. And so I guess right now that's where I'm at. I started my health class already on January 5th. And so obviously, because we didn't do the surveys and we're already like 10 days into the quarter, it's probably not actually going to work for this section. So I'll probably have to be future thinking this for like quarter 4 for an actual child and families class. So, so I guess in that sense, now I kind of feel a little bit relieved. I have some more time to kind of go over it and actually, read through this rather than worry that I'm 3 weeks into the class already and I can't, like get you guys the data that you needed to do this the way it's supposed to be done, I guess. I don't know.
The data in Inform in particular is primarily, we do use it to take a look at and see if there's changes and making a difference in those kind of things and tracking numbers. But a lot of it is because we have to meet certain targets with the feds in order to maintain the dollars.
Sure.
Anything else that would have been helpful for you or a way to get the information to you easier?
No, I mean, everything came quickly when she said she was sending stuff. So it arrived very quickly. There was no delays in that realm of it. But,
Okay.
Without, I guess, sitting down and listening to today and kind of, what the purpose of the data was and, the dates and things like that, I guess I just wasn't aware really of how structured it was supposed to be. So now I'm seeing that more, I guess.
Okay.
And I can kind of piggyback off that.
Okay.
And like I start Monday and I really didn't start going through this because we were finishing up a quarter semester here these last couple, and I started looking through it and I was like, oh man, there's a lot more to getting this started than just, opening up and going, with the syllabi and the surveys and all that kind of good stuff. But I think I'll be all right. We'll get to it. But yeah, not knowing all that was needed. I wish I'd have got into this
Earlier. Okay.
earlier. Yeah.
Okay.
And like everything did show up. Like she said, they sent all the stuff. Just the student workbooks. I got an email today saying they were sent, but they have not shown up. But other than that, everything else I believe is here.
Ophelia, do you have any thoughts on process?
Toby brought up a good point with using it in health class, which is great because all of the kids have to take health, but not all the kids at my school have to take child and family studies. And I've noticed some kids get overlap of the information because like our health teacher, one of them uses the older curriculum, which is very similar to the new one.
Yeah.
And I had one kid who absolutely loved it. She's like, I get double doses of information and I love it so much, but then there's some things where like it's just straight up a review of health class. So that would be my concern, is kind of double dipping. And I think attendance is always kind of confusing for me. I can never seem to keep up with it.
Just getting it done.
Yeah.
Or not understanding
like,
how to turn it in. What?
I know how to turn it in and I know how to like get it done, but it's like sometimes I even forget to take attendance like during class because we've just got to go while we're doing this, or we don't make it in time. And like we keep such a structured thing, so to sit down and do attendance all at the end is frustrating. Things come up, and now that he said absences aren't a big deal, that's great. Because at first when I started it, I remember having to like make up assignments with kids who are out, and now with COVID there's so many kids out all the time that it'd be nearly impossible to get everyone on board. And there were also kids with like the surveys that I could never find because it was towards beginning of December when there was that big surge, and then kids like literally never came back to school. And it's like, how long do you track down kids until you just give up?
Yeah, COVID's a good time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so touching more students, I think your comments about better understanding that it could be done with health classes, I think. Other thoughts on how we reach more students across the state or more teachers to do this?
Doing it, just having it be a part of like required classes, I think, because then that reaches more kids. If every kid in your school has to take health their sophomore year, then every kid at least gets exposed to it once. And if they get exposed to it twice because they take a class like child and family studies, that's great too. I don't think there's really like a set number of times they should be exposed to it, but it's a good way to get the information out to the school.
Okay.
Yeah, and in my world, I have junior high students that take a quarter of health also. And so that would be beneficial to be able to utilize the curriculum for them. And it's pretty rare, but it has happened where I've had a student in junior high health and then also had them in high school health. And so, you know, depending on the difference of the year when that falls, they may be seeing some of the same material or they may be seeing some of the same assignments. So, you know, having ways to ratchet it up for them, I guess, you know, so it kind of seems like, okay, yes, you were exposed to this maybe on a basic level in junior high, but now I want you to go more in depth, or I want you to further your learning so that you can look at this more, you know, critically, or you know, you can try and, I don't know, get to a greater depth on it or something, you know, change their length a little bit.
I feel like some of the lessons maybe would need to be modified for junior high audience because it really is geared towards high schoolers. But I don't see why it wouldn't work with junior high.
Yeah, but it could. I mean, we could think through that. Okay, other thoughts on touching more students or reaching out differently or better?
kind of got to see what it's all about first before I can.
Okay.
Add to
I
that.
thought of something else for making the curriculum better.
Okay.
I feel like some of the worksheets in the book just are really not applicable. Like the kindness and like the bullying observations, my kids don't take those seriously. And it was really hard to like get them engaged. The only way I could was by like making a contest out of it in the class. Who found the most and like reported it on this Google form got like extra credit. But like, how do we know that they were actually truly doing it and not just making it up? Like, there was no way to know.
Okay.
And I get that bullying and kindness is like important, but do we have to have a whole lesson based around it and then have them observe for a week and then try to come back to it, but we're on to something completely different? Like, there's not really time to like go back, if you know what I mean, to a previous lesson if we need to keep moving forward.
Okay. Ooh, sorry, my formatting is a little off here. So the last question we have, and then we probably need to go back to the group, is what would be, I said better tracking of outcomes, but are there tools or things that we could provide that would be helpful for you to know if things are happening in the classroom that the curriculum and you are making a difference?
I feel like an exit ticket would be a good idea. I know this
For
year
each
particularly,
class, or
like in like how you were saying, you were gonna periodically like check in with us on things. If we had one like for our students, where we could periodically check in on things and kind of see
Okay.
where they're at and if they have questions and how they're feeling 1 to 5 on these certain things, and then have it be like after a certain lesson or whatever, that would be cool.
Maybe
Just to kind of go
just
ahead.
maybe having it be like a Google form too, something
Yeah.
that you don't have to print out, but they can just log in, fill it out, and then that data is kind of extrapolated already and ready to go for whoever needs it.
Yeah, that would be cool.
okay, anything else?
It would just be helpful for like a heat check from the class.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else? Okay, well, let's see if we can get the other group's attention. I'm going to stop sharing for just a second.
We have
All right.
minute.
Yeah, you can have 1 more minute.
The last one was. I know. I received a box that had a broom in it, and some like a car and some bouncy balls and some rubber, some balloons, but there was really nothing else. Like, is it for the lessons or was it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I was just like,
they go with certain lessons. If you want, I can tell you which ones everything goes with.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so it didn't come with an instruction sheet, is what you're saying.
Not that I was really connecting it like, okay, you should open up the, guidebook and this should go with unit 1 lesson, whatever. Like, it was just kind of a bunch of things. And I'm like, okay, I'm sure this connects somewhere, but I'm not really sure where. So I'll just put this in my office for now. And
Right. Well, and that's a good observation, because you like Ophelia, who started a year ago, they walked through it at the training, right?
Yeah.
And so that's good information when we bring on new instructors and teachers across the state, that we need to be a little more clear about what is it that we're giving you. You ready, Sheldon? All right, everybody in the room good to go? You got through your questions? Oh, I can't hear you. was gonna say, it looks like you're talking. Okay, there we go.
Yeah, we are finishing up.
Okay.
No, it's separate, so it'll look like.
All right. Let's take a few minutes. Did you all do it as a full group in the big room?
Yeah.
Okay, so I would like each of the groups to kind of share a little bit about what you talked about. I will share my screen again that I took notes for the online group. But let's start in the room. Do you have somebody stand near the mic so we can hear you? Jackie was a little hard to hear earlier.
Sorry.
No, that's okay.
Okay. Would you like to share out first, Brittany, or would you like? us-
Yes, why don't we start with the group in the room and you share out what you talked about and any thoughts you had. So,
I think you took a lot more notes than us. So
that's okay.
for making the curriculum better, we kind of just discussed, for us, at Strong Families, our concerns are, we're definitely happy that everyone is doing 12 hours or more, well, definitely 12 hours, but if they're going way over the 12 hours. So our question is, what is causing anyone to go over the 12 hours? Is it because the curriculum is designed that you need more discussion time? Is it just the students are discussing more? What kind of plays into that?
Does it cause a burden?
And then does it cause a burden on the teachers for that time? And then we also talked about our scope and sequence, the lessons we have selected to meet that dosage, how those play out in the order, if that works. I know in the past we kind of talked about how they flow. And then if there are other lessons that we don't have included in that should be, kind of what we talked about our scope and sequence. And then we kind of rounded out talking again about that wedding budget lesson, just the practicality of it. Does that lesson make students fearful that getting married means spending a lavish amount and having an expensive wedding? And is that expected? And then how, as the facilitator teacher, you kind of segue into that a wedding doesn't have to be super expensive. You can have whatever wedding you want. And then the ultimate goal of the wedding days, which per se the final goal of your relationship. That lesson is designed by the developer to kind of tie into relationships, but really the idea is we wanted the financial literacy part to really kind of be the focus of that lesson. And then moving into process, we kind of just mostly honed in on that. We do a lot of the surveys over Zoom right now. We know that it can be burdensome to take a full class just to do the surveys, but to make that smooth for the teachers. And so we also talked about giving everyone headphones for each student when they take the survey, so that they are able to kind of focus inwardly and listen to those questions. And then tracking outcomes, we kind of just, in general, just talked about the quizzes that we are putting out for everyone, to kind of track their own student assessment, and then really getting the individual data summary sheets, or each teacher getting their summary sheet of their class at the conclusion of the healthy relationship class. And
That's it. Okay. Well, I think we shared, this group shared some of the same ideas, but I'll share up our screen here. You should be able to see the just the Word document. Yeah, I'll read through it, so never fear. So making the curriculum better. So to be very clear, we had one teacher, so Ophelia and Gillette is the only teacher that has been teaching it, and then Toby and Mark are new, and they have just at the beginning of doing this. And so we talked about it in slightly different ways. That's why there's more notes. Ophelia pointed out she'd really like to see more interactive things. She feels like she spends a lot of time lecturing. She really liked the videos we watched today, and how, you know, we some of there was a concern up front about integrating other things. Is there ways that we can do that without causing a problem? So yeah, you can see that all stems around that. Ophelia says it's really a lot of times, and I think you guys touched on this as well, that it's kind of unrealistic when it says the 20 minutes. A lot of times it'll take the full time. She did like that we made a calendar for 45-minute classes. We got that changed because hers are not the full time or not as long as some of the others. But she's still struggling to get through everything in the correct time frame. Just the timing in general. So Toby has an accelerated format where she's doing a whole semester in a quarter. And so she is looking at how she prioritizes topics and things like that. And because we didn't get to this piece until she was partway through that quarter, she'll have to back up and do some things to make sure she is ready to go at the second or the fourth quarter. For the budget, we did talk, I put this, so it was on the wall. We talked about this earlier for that budgeting activity. Could we alter it so it's not just weddings, but more of a realistic view of rent and living life and how not everybody is going to be a doctor or make $300,000 a year. And then there's a few of the worksheets that seem a little not applicable or a little challenging. We all know we want to talk about kindness and bullying, but the observation sheet that has to go on for a week it's really hard to do, really hard to get them to continue to do, particularly when you have to move topics the next round. Process-wise, we talked a little bit about the fact that it's good to know that it fits into a health curriculum as well. That today was very helpful to better understand why all of those different things are needed, and both Toby and Mark feel a little more prepared for what they're doing. Things are showing up in good time, very helpful. Ophelia says because they're moving through it so quickly, sometimes it's just hard to get the attendance. She knows how to get it in, those kind of things, but just remembering to get it done. And then I thought for me, this was interesting. Toby and Mark got their boxes. We maybe, for those people that are unable to attend a training, maybe need to include a sheet that says the broom goes with this lesson.
I went through and went through the curriculum and said, which does the hammer go with?
Yeah.
Or the nail.
I thought we started doing that. I thought we started labeling them.
So,
yeah, okay. Yep, that's right.
No, so I just a quick fix thing that I thought was good. We talked about how do we get more students. Toby says, she does have junior high kids. I know that we've over time discussed whether or not that's acceptable in the grant. It may not be, but that's okay. More understanding that it is feasible to do in health classes. Ophelia would really like it just to be part of the required classes in general, then everybody has to take it. I too would like that to happen. I don't know how we make that happen. As somebody with high school age children, it really should have had this class. Better tracking of outcomes. We talked about exit tickets. Did we put together just a Google form that the teachers could use to take a temperature check of where the kids are at, in these 5 things, or how are you feeling about them? Those kinds of things, not necessarily the learning, but as how are you feeling about what we're doing in class kind of check in would be helpful for teachers. So I thought that was good as well. Anything else that came up for anyone as we were going through what the groups talked about? Okay, well, so we will take all of this information back, as well as any survey information that you sent in or that the teachers that aren't here have sent in along the way. And we meet with the Strong Family, or the Strong Family staff and I meet on a regular basis, and we kind of use that in conjunction with the data that we collect to look at different potential changes, but potential options. Those kinds of things. And so you'll probably see some additional things as we move along. We'll give updates along the way. But if you have anything come up, please reach out. I know you all talk to Sheldon and Kelsey on a regular basis for share with them, but if you want to reach out to me, I'm not that hard to find. Please do so. You'll see me pop up. And then when we get to the ends of, we usually, because the majority of people are operating on semesters, I realize that's not true for all of you, but you'll start to hear from us asking if your kids would be willing to do interviews, asking you for surveys, asking if you'll be willing to do interviews. Would love to talk to you on the back end so that we can continue to make those adjustments and changes in that CQI plan. So that is all I have. Look, we're not to 4:15. Any questions from you all? Okay, well then I am going to turn this back over to Kelsey. And she's going to wrap us up, I believe.
Thank you, Brittany and Sheldon. I think that was a great session. Mark had a comment in the chat box I wanted to address. I definitely can give you some examples of how other teachers have filled out the syllabus. And then one more, let's see.
That'd be great.
And then same for you, Toby. I definitely can give you some examples also. Perfect. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. We appreciate for you all coming in person and joining us on Zoom. And we had a few technical difficulties. Thank you for being flexible. And we hope that everyone kind of was able to leave today refreshed and full of some more answers just on our program. And a few great sessions that I definitely have some copies of the presentations and slides from our speakers today. I'll be sending out to everyone, as well as certificates for attending. If you haven't already gotten me your information, if you need the PTSB credits, please do so. Or if you are in need of the Perkins priority points for attending today, you can also get that as a certificate. And then we just wanted to kind of wrap up with saying kind of one of our things is we like to do our cheesy puns. And so our theme today was that you guys are nacho average teachers. And so once you've all received, if you haven't already received your package, you'll kind of see more of our theme. But really, we just want to say we appreciate all you guys do. You always have such great support. And whenever we reach out and ask favors, or for you guys to be a part of some new project we've come up with, we love that you're always willing to help out. And we just want to share that appreciation. And, you know, hopefully you guys get to go enjoy the rest of your weekend. We do have a evaluation that in person you can fill out on paper. And then I'm going to be putting in the chat box one for everyone online. If you could bear with me just a second here. I'll get that. And then with that, our day is over. Please feel free to reach out with any questions you have from today or about our program. I know I'm in contact with a few of you already starting up classes. And thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, please.
Bye.
Oh, wait, I need to put the, we could stop recording.